Fight!
Hello and welcome. My name is Fletcher, and this is Season 4, Episode 4 of the MKAU show. Today we've got our returning guest, MJ. We got resident veteran Whippy coming back on the podcast. You've been on the podcast a while ago
No, I
now.
haven't been on it yet.
Oh, really? So the first time?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, well,
Are you
welcome,
sure you
welcome
haven't?
aboard.
I definitely haven't been on one yet. I was meant to go on one, and I think I got COVID.
Oh, that's right.
Exciting stuff.
You made an excuse up for them as well.
Yeah.
We've also got Breezy back as well,
Redeeming myself.
and we got Big Boss Man Subby.
Hey, what's going on?
So we've got a couple of different topics we want to talk about today. First and foremost, the big ticket one is the Xbox and Bethesda showcase is coming out. It's essentially in place of what would be E3. Going to be talking about the Gotham Knights now becoming a next-gen exclusive, which could be like the start of a trend. See how that goes out. We've got some Square Enix selling out some of the smaller companies. And when I say smaller companies, that includes Crystal Dynamics, the creators of Tomb Raider. They've also got IPs of Deus Ex as well, and probably rounded out a little bit with a bit of May the 4th, recap, wishes, and everything that entails there. But before we do kick off, what's everyone been playing? I'll go around in the same direction I started. So MJ, what have you been playing lately?
Apex, the new season's come out. I'm still terrible at it. Battlefield. I'm still playing Battlefield 2042 actually. Update 4.0 came out. It's terrible. Season 1's meant to come out till like next month, but it's still a buggy as game.
Right.
And then still playing Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Solid.
So what's in the Apex? What's in the Apex update?
There's a new legend named Newcastle. I haven't played him yet. I haven't unlocked him, but he looks pretty cool. He's like a mix of like Gibby and like Lifeline, and yeah.
I've heard people are complaining about Newcastle and all that stuff because it's basically making Lifeline more and more irrelevant.
Yeah, he's
That's
super
right,
OP.
something about complaining about Lifeline, yeah.
That's it, pretty much.
It's good. Whippy, what have you been playing?
Mr. Sub's got me hooked back into Rainbow Six Siege, so I've been playing a fair bit of that lately and doing the battle pass for Fortnite. And
nice.
No
build mode, or you're building?
I go in between. Nah, I don't build. I don't even build in build mode. I just run around. And I've started playing Hunt Showdown. I got that the other week, so I started playing that now. So it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, there's been a lot of the private games going along in the MKAU group, which is pretty good. Breezy, you play Hunt as well, don't you?
Yeah, I've been playing Hunt, Siege. Stace got me into Ark again after years of not playing it because haven't had much to do and didn't really progress much. And I've also been playing a bit of Pokemon Diamond, Brilliant Diamond.
Oh yeah, the remake one.
Yeah, and I also started on because of them re-release seeing the Star Wars Force Unleashed onto the Switch. I decided because I don't have a game capture card to stream on my Switch or the game yet. I bought it on my Xbox and played the backwards compatible version on there.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good game. I got good memories of that.
One of my favorites.
Didn't like the second one too much, but
the second one was a bit. They're trying to do stuff to try and drag out a bit more to get a bit more money coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
But its first game was the best, and to me, I see it as canon. Considering when Disney bought Star Wars franchise and all that, it became non-canon.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's good. Well, you played a good variety of games. What about you, Subby? Anything new, interesting, or?
Nothing. Oh, I've played a little bit of Evil Dead. That's why I wanted to see if you guys were playing it or not. But other than that, mostly Siege. Played a little bit of Division last night, but mostly Siege for me.
Yep, that's good. Yeah, like my wife got me a PS5 for my birthday, so I've started playing Horizon Forbidden West. So I'm pretty damn happy about that. I love the first one. I've downloaded Trek to Yumi, but I haven't played it yet. So
That's a good game.
yeah, like I'm pretty damn excited about it. I was waiting for that for a very long time, but since I've started Horizon, I'm going to stick with that for a bit. But it's good to be able to play the PS5 finally. It's been a long time coming. So
you'll play it for a week and then you won't play it for a year.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about getting it now is that there's a back catalog that of all these exclusives that came out for the last 2 years that you can start picking up, as opposed to the people that got it from the start and had to wait all those months in between games. So hopefully I can just keep moving between them. But I mean, that's PlayStation. I guess the topic we're about to talk about is Xbox and Bethesda. Whippy's gone through and actually put together like a expected list. So if you want to kick things off, Whippy, and talk about like some of the things that Xbox are working on and what we may or may not expect. I think it's June 12th, is it?
Yes, June 12th. And I think they've expected the show to go for 90 minutes or something. So hopefully they can cram a bit of content into that 90 minutes.
Mhm.
But they've got a couple of titles coming up. Like like these are all being expected. Like nothing's been set in stone from either Xbox or Bethesda.
Yep.
But like you got Starfield, which we're expecting gameplay for, which looks like it's going to be a really good game when it actually comes out. There has been a little bit of talk about Fable 4, but I don't think they're actually calling it Fable 4. I'm pretty certain they're just calling it Fable. So I don't know if they're going to try and remake it or what they're doing.
Yeah.
There was a bit of talk about the Outer Worlds 2. They're rebooting Perfect Dark, Contraband, Redfall. There's hopefully going to be a bit more chat about Indiana Jones. They did release a teaser for that with the hat and the whip.
Yep.
You got Hellblade 2, Forza Motorsport, so Xbox are going to come in with that one, obviously. And hopefully something from the Elder Scrolls 6 would be nice, not just a mountain.
So, is anyone like what's the most anticipated game on that list? Like that everyone here is looking forward to.
Outer Scrolls.
If any. Elder Scrolls?
Definitely Outer Scrolls.
On that list, Forza.
You're a Forza man?
Yeah, I love Forza. I spent way too many hours on it.
What's
Anything
Contraband?
stand out? It's a new game that's being made by the people that did the Just Cause series, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's something that's similar vein, like to the Just Cause series.
For me, it's
But it's
probably. I wanted to see more Redfall, but they delayed that. So.
Yeah, Contraband's coming out from Avalanche, so the same people that made Just Cause.
Yeah.
And I believe it's Xbox exclusive as well, so that should be a bit interesting.
I'd imagine
MJ?
a few of these would be, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Elder Scrolls is the only one on there that you can really point towards and say that one's going to be a multi-platform thing.
Yeah.
Some of those games, though, you look at, you're like, it would be silly for Xbox to make them Xbox exclusive. Like Indiana Jones and all that. You could easily make that cross-platform, and it would be a game that sells. Like, how many people, when they were younger, watched Indiana Jones, like, oh, that would be cool to be Indiana Jones? Like,
Yep. Definitely. Anything stand out on the list for you, MJ?
Probably the Outer Worlds 2. First one was really good. I really liked it. And then obviously, Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, but I'm pretty keen for a second Outer Worlds.
I'm interested in Starfield. I just honestly don't know much about it. Like I know that if it's anything, like if it's something that Bethesda, because it's a Bethesda specific exclusive, correct? Like it's not like a sub company of Bethesda that's doing it. Like like Obsidian does the Outer Worlds 2 and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, but like it's not actual Bethesda that's doing it. But and like the original Fallout series and the Elder Scrolls series, both gold. So if they can channel anything like that, like I'd like it, but I just don't know enough about it to be excited, to be honest.
I think I'm happy with that.
What was that, Breezy?
only thing I'm hoping with the Elder Scrolls 6 is that they go back to like basics of single player. The multiplayer kind of ruined it, especially if you look like at Fallout 76. The multiplayer stuff, it kind of was like, yeah, that kind of pushed it a bit too much.
Yeah, it didn't
And
land
like,
too well.
yeah,
It's come a long way though. Fallout 76 has had a
it
bunch of big
has
updates
come
and
a
it's
long
actually
way,
playable
but
now. But
I can still can't
it,
believe people carry on about Fallout 76. Such a different game now.
yeah, from when it first released, it's completely different. It actually, I'm not a massive Fallout fan, but I actually had a bit of fun playing that one with a couple of mates of mine.
I enjoyed the Fallout series. What I played of it.
Yeah, the Elder Scrolls Online series, game, that keeps gaining traction. Like from what I see, like I mean, like there's a new expansion coming out for that. Like that has a huge following. Like I really didn't, pay attention to it. Like it's evolving over the years.
Yeah,
The
me
big game on this
personally.
was for me. Mhm.
For me
What was
personally,
that,
the
Breezy?
Elder Scrolls Online, it's because like I played a little bit of it, and I was like, yeah, no. And especially when I played the part of Skyrim map, I was like, why not keep it accurate to the map, to the area of the map that you put in? Because it was
Based
like,
in a different time.
yeah, but
That's 1,000
it
years
was
before
like
the Elder Scrolls
completely,
game.
but it was still like completely different. There was like different. There was like caves where caves weren't normally at, and
Yep.
it's like
Yeah, I get that. Like like different experience. So like you feel differently towards it. So I personally never got into it. So I can understand that what you're saying, Breezy. Perfect Dark is the game that like I really want on that. I know that there sounds like there's been a lot of turmoil like in that. I think the game director's left, and I think a couple different hands have touched it. So
Well,
I
they
don't
did
think we're
that.
gonna.
They did that reboot of Perfect Dark. I
Perfect
can't
Dark
remember what
Zero?
it was. Maybe, but it was really bad.
Mm.
There was a Perfect Dark in between now and
Yeah, I do
the
recall
original
something
Perfect
like
Dark that was
that.
really
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
but hopefully it's not like that.
I vaguely remember playing Perfect Dark Zero, which was like a 360 launch title. Um, it didn't strike me in any way that was memorable. So, a full reboot would be pretty cool. I mean, we haven't seen a Splinter Cell game in a while, so I think Perfect Dark could be remade in that format and handled pretty well because the original game was supposed to be you're a spy-esque person. What's Avowed?
That's coming to Games Pass Day 1 too.
Yeah, I'd hope so because if it's exclusive. But
Yeah.
does anyone know anything about Avowed?
No.
It's like a fantasy game or something, isn't it?
No.
Or
Out.
Yeah, no,
Sounds
I've never heard of
familiar.
that one.
This is all stuff they announced such a long time ago.
I think they announced it when they were like saying that there's finally a date for the Xbox Series X.
Well,
So-
there's a big thing saying Xbox are going to treat this showcase as what they would have E3. So there's going to be a heap of smaller games, but they're just
Yep.
going to blast it with the big ones as well. Because anything that would have been at E3 obviously wasn't at E3, so they're going to showcase it here, which is a good idea marketing wise.
There's
Yep.
a couple of articles that are saying Avowed is like Skyrim on steroids. So
Yep. All I remember is just like a
First-person
fantasy setting.
RPG set in a fantasy world.
Who's the developer?
Obsidian.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. They did
Same
Fallout
as
New
Starfield.
Vegas.
Did they do Outer Worlds as well?
Yes, yeah, they did.
yeah, Outer Worlds, Grounded. Grounded's really fun.
Mhm.
Is it
Yeah.
bad that I was the same as you, Fletch? I was like, oh yeah, they did New Vegas. That's all I
Yeah.
could think of.
Yep. That put them on the map. Like, I don't know what else they've really done outside of that, to be honest. I mean, they hit a home run with it, in my opinion. Like, that's my favorite Fallout of all time. Like New
Oh, yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah.
So I guess like the second thing, like with this showcase that they're doing, they've obviously said that they're pushing Redfall back, which they've only had like announced trailer. Starfield's got like pushing back. People were talking about how does this actually affect Xbox, for their lineup for the year. Like what exclusives have they got for the rest of the year? They got nothing now. Like that was the last thing that they had on the list, and now they got nothing again. And all we know about these games is they're pushed back to 2023 with no release date.
Been big enough here. I don't mind to be pushed back.
Yep.
That's one thing I have noticed though. Like they cram so many good games into like 1 year, and then the next year's just like there's good games. Don't get me wrong, good games come out. But like I was talking to Sub about it yesterday. I was like, I'm literally playing a game from 2015, and I'm loving a game from 2015. They haven't done anything with the game apart from add stuff. They've added cool stuff. They've changed little things, and like Sub said yesterday, it'd be cool if they changed little things like the damage in the game or like little minor stuff just to keep people coming back to it.
It was about Siege. Siege, 2015 it came out, and just shows you just need to keep releasing decent seasons. Like COD could do the same thing. COD doesn't keep needing to do, different every year. Just keep evolving the base game or whatever.
Well, like it's like they originally when they who bought Activision? Microsoft, yeah. It's like when they did that, they were like, "Oh, we're not going to release a COD this year," and then they just announced that they're releasing a COD this year. It's like
it lasted all of a month.
Yeah, that lasted like 6 weeks.
Everyone keeps.
I think they announced they were releasing a COD every year, but this one was already in the works. So
yeah,
they were gonna be next year that you don't get one. I think that's what was going on.
Oh,
I'd love if COD
either
did
way,
like,
it's oversaturated.
I'd love if COD made like your World War II and Vanguard like a DLC that you could buy. Like you don't necessarily have to have that version of the game. Like just have a base like Modern Warfare game, and then just add like to that, like what or add operators or whatever you want to do. If you want to have someone from World War II, you can use someone from World War II. But like, I've got that many COD games sitting in that shelf. It's not even funny.
It's turned into a live service like Siege.
To buy every COD game up until Modern Warfare on Steam, you can buy it in a bundle for like 1.5k. That's how many COD titles there are.
Holy crap!
That's insane, right? And you only save 15% by buying it in a bundle.
Wow.
Is that all the DLC as well?
That's all the DLC, all the COD games. It's like 1.5k or something ridiculous like that on Steam, up until Modern Warfare.
Considering most of the DLC on the older COD games was just for multiplayer maps, and those games wouldn't really have a server or a player base on them. Man, you gotta be dedicated for that.
Yeah, half those servers are being shut down. So the other day,
or you log on, and it's just the same 6 sweaty people playing the same maps over and over.
Prestige like masters. So I looked at my game, like just my physical game collection the other day, and I worked out each game if it was worth $70, which they're worth more than that half the time anyway. But when I finished, I was like, oh, that's bad. That's really bad.
Well, I guess that's like all these new games, like especially like this entire list. If this entire list hits Game Pass, that's nuts. Like because like the cost of Game Pass for 1 year is probably the cost of get every single one of these games. If they all came out in 1 year, that's a pretty damn good deal for me. I guess we'll see like whether they manage to get them out next year. I reckon half this list we're not going to see for another 3 years. But they talk about. They talk about that on the value of Game Pass. If these exclusive games aren't launching, Trek to Yumi is not an exclusive, and it's just come out, and like it's on Game Pass straight away.
Did you see the big shitstorm that came out with that though? It was
like them pushing games back, or
no, like the Trek to Yumi. They're like, oh, if you're on PlayStation, you're actually supporting the developers. I'm like, Xbox is supporting the developers too.
Yeah,
mate.
but apparently they've made more money through Games Pass than they did sales through other platforms.
Wow.
So whatever deal they made with Microsoft, they made more money in that deal with Games Pass than what they did with sales on other platforms.
Well, that would make sense because Xbox Game Pass is accessible by PC, Xbox. Like that makes sense. It's got double the market.
That's wild.
Mm.
That's amazing. When you really put it in perspective like that.
Yeah, no.
I think that's why you see a lot of these smaller indie games and small titles go to Games Pass, because that studio knows whatever deal they can make with Microsoft to put it on Games Pass straight away is probably more than what they might get in a sale on another platform. They might not sell any copies, and they've made nothing where they've just been guaranteed a certain amount for being on Games Pass.
So I guess we've just spoken about all these different games and stuff like that. How many games on this list do we actually think we're going to see gameplay of? Whippy said that they're going to have gameplay of Starfield, but if that was the only game that they showed with gameplay of, I mean, you talk about Indiana Jones as well, Hellblade, Everwild, like Forza, like if they came out and showed one gameplay footage and then the rest would just, CGI renders or just like announcement trailers, would that piss you guys off or?
They'll definitely show for Starfield and Redfall. Maybe Forza. But
Forza's gonna have gameplay. It's already out. Gameplay trailer in quotations is already out. So
yeah. But how much more can they show in 90 minutes? Like,
Yeah.
My theory is because they haven't announced a show in any of this, then we may not get gameplay for any of it.
Yeah.
that's true.
I probably don't
They haven't even
expect to
announced
see.
some of these games. Some of this stuff's not even.
I'd like to see a trailer at least for Indiana Jones. I'd like to see just a trailer. Like, they put the teaser up. A trailer would be nice.
Indiana Jones, and I don't even know if they're going to be having because the Elder Scrolls, and they just change it to another version of Skyrim being able to access on some weird contraption that's like they
but
did with.
it's been 10 years since Skyrim, so like we won't see Elder Scrolls 6 for at least another 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't expect there to be really much of anything except for maybe like a small teaser sort of. Yeah, like I don't know. The thing is, it's like showcases and E3 for me is that I really got burnt with Dead Island 2. So a lot of the time I just don't trust.
Yeah, that's fair. The thing that's put off a lot of my friends through the years was the Watchdog. Like the amount of stuff that led over the Watchdog for 3-4 years to be released as a wet fart. Really, it was just a lot of my friends don't trust these events in general now because they just don't believe anything that gets shown at them.
I did enjoy the first Watchdogs game. Like I played a lot of that when I got my hands on it. And I go back to it from time to time. Watchdogs 2, I started it, but it just was like, I haven't even bought Legion or whatever it was.
I enjoy that game. It's a good game.
I do want to get it for the DLC of having I've forgotten the main Aiden, yeah, having Aiden come back. Like that was like when I saw stuff about that, I was like, ooh, that would be interesting.
I bought the game and haven't even unwrapped it out of the plastic yet.
Number one or
Legion.
Oh, it's a good game.
Oh, I know it's a good game. I've watched plenty of footage of it. I just because I think other games ended up coming out when I got it, and I ended up just playing them and not playing it.
I guess a good thing, like a good segue, for this topic, I reckon, is we can talk about these games as well as the revelations just come out of Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is seems like it was supposed to be released 2 years ago and it just keeps getting pushed back, and now they finally pulled the cord, and then they said it's not coming out in the old generations. It's strictly a next gen release. So that can tie in with with like these games here. Like I don't know how many on this list there's going to be backwards compatibility for it, but if they're coming in a couple of years, at that stage it's really worth talking. Is it too early to start pulling the pin on the older generation of consoles? Like for PC, it doesn't matter. PC just they're in their own
everything.
bubble. Yeah, they're in their own bubble. But just talking about the consoles themselves.
it's kind of, for me, I believe it's a bit of a big risk move for them to do, because like it's still not easy to get your hands on next gen. It's like you're able to get last gen and with no problems. It's like,
When's the delay again? What's the new date?
It's October this year, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is it?
Yep. So
okay.
it's officially coming out this year. They've also dropped it from 4-player co-op to 2-player, which kind of seems like a missed opportunity there, considering that the cast is specifically modeled after 4 different players.
Yeah, that's a big letdown.
Saying that though, if they strip it off old gen and just have it strictly a new gen, I dare say they could probably push the game a bit harder than that would have, because like old gen consoles probably can't, like if they, I don't know what engine they're using, but they could probably push the engine harder for the next gen consoles to actually have that next gen feeling. Like a lot of the games now, yes, they're next gen compatible, but they're not. A lot of them don't feel like they're actually built for next gen.
Yep.
What I'm guessing is they don't want a cyberpunk incident where
I don't think anyone does.
last gen was unplayable.
Because I was looking up some numbers, and so apparently, and Breezy's right. It is still very hard to get like a new generation console, but there is 38 million next gen like PS5s and Xbox Series X's in the wild at the moment.
But the Series X is the one that's hard to get. It's the Series S. You can just go to any shop.
Series X and
Series
PS5
S's, yeah,
is the two harder ones to get. I think now it's becoming in stock very regularly now, so I don't think it's a big issue. Maybe for the PS5 it might still be, but
PS5 is still very difficult to get.
Yeah, I think Series X is becoming a little bit more frequently stocked. But
If you've
been able to get an S from any store anyway, so there's no real reason that you've had no time to upgrade.
The Series S will let you play a next gen version, but not at its full potential though. But I guess though, like they can still cater towards those consoles as opposed to the Xbox Ones. But my personal opinion is that they should have, like by this point already pulled the pin on last gen, and that includes when I didn't have access to the newer gen, just because I want to see developers push games.
Yeah,
I want to see these.
I think they should have. What are we at? 2 years in?
Is this 2019? So it's come up on 3 years before.
I think it's more than enough time. They should have just pulled the pin on last gen, in my opinion.
Like I don't know how many of you have played it. I actually downloaded it and had to go on it. The little demo they did for Unreal Engine 5 with the Matrix. That as a full game would have so much potential, and it's got like it just looks so nice. But the old gen consoles won't run that.
No.
Unreal Engine 5 looks unreal.
No way.
What's your thoughts on it, MJ? I mean, like you're predominantly PC anyway, aren't you? So
yeah. Honestly, like I've got an Xbox S. I'm waiting to get a PS5. But I pretty much just play PC. And honestly, I'm not massive on. I didn't even know Gotham Knights was a thing, so I just looked it up now. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's not. I don't know. I feel like.
But I guess it still would work in your favor, like being a PC gamer, because the games are still going to be limited to play like on its lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
So if they didn't have to worry about making these big AAA games to play on a PS4 and Xbox One, even on PC would benefit. PC would start seeing games being developed to their full potential.
Well, they already have. That's why it takes sometimes different lengths of time to port things. They can't just go, oh yeah, like what'll run on a PC will work on a PlayStation 4 or whatever. Like they've always tinkered with that. But I don't know. I'm not. Everything comes to PC eventually. I'm not necessarily very concerned, and I think if it's unrealistic to expect developers and publishers to cater to people that are 3-4 years behind into the technology. So yeah, I don't know. I think just deal with it and upgrade Like,
Yes, like I said, the Series S has
yeah,
been out for long enough, Breezy.
yeah,
There's been
and it's like
literally no excuses.
it's like
Mm.
300
Money.
bucks. It's like
Money?
300 bucks. Chuck it on Afterpay like I did. Easy.
Exactly, Afterpay it.
Don't go clubbing, then you can afford
Exactly,
it.
don't go clubbing. There's no excuses, Breezy.
Don't eat avocado on toast.
Yuck.
I think it was, I faced that same same argument like back in the 360 going to the Xbox One like days and stuff like that. I think it was 4 years in, and then before they released Horizon Zero Dawn like on the PlayStation 4. I bought a PlayStation 4 because of the announcement trailer for the PlayStation, and that was supposed to be a launch title, and it couldn't run it until 4 years later, and they canceled the PS3 version of it as well. And I was like, I don't want to do that consistently. Just I think everyone collectively said that this generation's launch titles sucked because it was one exclusive and it was a remake of a game that was on PlayStation 3 anyway. But
I think it's something to do with like what we spoke about last time too. Is like they're releasing these games that just aren't ready or are just full of bugs, and because they can just do a day one patch or
yep,
a season one patch like Battlefield after 6 months. Like
which
it's
still
just
doesn't fix it.
pros. That's unfortunate.
We were talking about that yesterday in Sub's stream. Like the developers know now that they can release a game in whatever state it's in, then a week later release an update for it. Like
Look at the game called Evil Dead. People couldn't even. People could buy it. It was past the release date, and people couldn't even load the game. They can't even get the game can't even get that part right. And then the first few games we played it was people floating around, and I glitched it out, and I was invincible when the game thought I was dead. I was still able to play. It was great.
So
we're willing beta testers with the developers.
yeah, that's it.
Right. Yep. 100%.
Is Gotham Knights coming out the same people that did the Arkham series?
So,
I don't think they are.
I think it's Warner Brothers Montreal or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's built on the same engine, but I think it's a sub company of Warner Brothers that are doing it. I don't think it's the original team that put together the original trilogy, but
okay.
They go through different things, they go through different builds and stuff.
Is who's doing it?
Yeah, I love how people just forget about Origins. It's like it was there
for a good reason.
Yeah,
but it was still there. So they did have Asylum, Arkham.
If you go and try and buy the trilogy of the game on the Xbox store, it's literally Asylum, Night, and City and then Night. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought them recently, the remastered ones.
They're good games. They're really good games.
Yeah.
I honestly never played. I never finished any of the other three either. I got a fair way into them, but I just lost interest by them. I get overwhelmed with games that have so much different small different things. Like go here, collect this trophy, do that. The more and more I start playing those, the more I get really get bored of them. Never even tried that spin-off. It was a prequel. Was it Breezy or?
It was a prequel, but the thing is, they also had animated movie that was also a prequel to it. But it's the movie made more sense than a lot more sense than the game Origins, because it's so you're doing a bit of the same of City, but not City.
Yeah, that's fair. It looked good. As I said, I know I've watched some gameplay footage of. I'm pretty sure I've watched people on Twitch play through it and stuff like that, but never picked it up myself. So
I bought it on PlayStation 3, and back when I was not on the internet, so I didn't have DLCs and all that. So I just played without the DLCs and all that.
Mm.
Whereas now I've got Arkham Knight and I've got all the DLCs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's like
the Gotham Knights
difference.
the Gotham Knights game still looks pretty good.
Mm.
I wonder what aspect of it is struggling on the older consoles. But again, I'm not a game
It's just
developer.
the game engine itself.
Yep, just trying to render stuff or
I think
be
that's-
stable.
That'll be what the issue.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just Gotham Knights is gonna be an interesting one, especially about this, considering it's a game based on the Batman, but without Batman. Like, it's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's definitely story wise.
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
don't know
I'm
how
looking forward to.
It's up there.
I don't know how invested everyone is into the Batman universe, but I always found like the people around Batman were always more interested in Batman himself.
Well, if you actually look at Batman's rogue gallery, like all these villains, Batman has one of the largest rogue galleries, which is why he's got and like they're all in. Some complement each other's abilities, and it's like they've got a lot of background story as well. Whereas, like, if you look at Marvel, most of their heroes got background stories, and their villains are not as well developed. But Marvel's just a big ass puzzle, whereas it's a bit more forward straight with DC.
Yep, that's a good take. Either way, like I mean, like I still reckon this game's gonna get delayed anyway. So
yeah,
I'm not sure to play it.
Have you seen the collector's edition that they've announced? EB Games is like $500. It's got like massive
amazing.
statue with like with like all 4 different characters and stuff like that.
What's the pre-order bonus?
The statue.
Be just a statue.
There are some skins. There's some exclusive skins by the guy that did the statue, I believe. An artist, some certain artist.
Looks pretty good.
I've seen like stuff for they have like the based around the Batman Beyond part of they've got skins that are based around that, and it's like that looks really good.
Kind of reminds me of like I'm looking at our next topic anyway. Like our next topic is like Square Enix selling a couple of their studios and IPs. You know, like they've sold Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix Montreal, and they've also sold Eidos Interactive. And so basically, like they've gotten rid of Tomb Raider and the Deus Ex IPs. So both of them haven't really been relevant in the last couple of years anyway. But does anyone remember when the last Deus Ex game came out? The marketing campaign.
Wasn't it on back in the days of the Xbox 360?
Was that the camp? Yeah, it was. Was that the campaign where the more pre-orders unlocked different?
That's the one.
Cause different reward tiers.
Yeah. So basically they were holding content hostage of like the what was coming out of the game. And they said, like, you know, if we get like 100,000, you know, we'll give you an extra level. If you get 500,000, we're going to give you an extra character. If you get like 1 million pre-orders and stuff like that, and so everyone boycott. And that's like one of those like kind of at the turn of the like console generations, and that was like the whole thing of stop pre-ordering games. And then they ended up delaying the entire game anyway, because like people just stopped pre-ordering, and then they had this huge list of stuff that they were going to put in the game that they said, well, since nobody's pre-ordering it, we're not chucking it in. But yeah, that game was basically sent out to die, and we haven't seen anything from that franchise in a while. So,
when was the last time Tomb Raider game came out? That would have been a couple of years ago now.
That was about 2000.
Was it Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Shadow of the
Tomb Raider. So that was.
I thought it was the one that had like apparently had multiplayer. I didn't have a too big a look at it.
No, the original one had multiplayer, which was pretty cool. Like the original reboot, 2013, and then it was like 2015 for Rise of the Tomb Raider. Then Shadow of the Tomb Raider was 2017 or 18. So we're pushing 4 or 5 years since the last game came out. where do you go from there with those type
On-
like things? Like,
I don't know. I thought there was another one announced. Wasn't you
Yeah,
sure there was?
Tomb Raider Reloaded was meant to be released this
Was it
year.
real?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tomb
Is that a
Raider.
remake?
I recalled another one being announced.
It looks like a remake of one of the PS1 ones.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
Because
they
there's-
leave the old model in.
Because it's pretty funny because like these 3 studios and IPs that they sold for $300 million.
I
And
get
just to
it
put
now.
it, yeah, just to put it
Was
in
that-
perspective,
Was that
Sony
to
just
Microsoft or Sony?
no, that was to Embracer in the Embracer group.
Just another
Um,
mob that's spying up games. Yeah.
yeah, so like they're buying a bunch of studios, but essentially the reason they got rid of it is like the thing I always found interesting is like the Crystal Dynamics. Every single time they released a game, would say that it was a failure. Like the Tomb Raider series sold very well, and every single time it was one of the highest selling games of the year. And Square Enix always turned around and said, "Nah, don't like it, hate it."
Wasn't Crystal
Um,
Dynamics doing Perfect Dark?
Don't know.
Pretty
be
sure
honest.
they were.
I think it was.
I would love it if they did. Like I really
MKAU
like
or
Crystal
something like
Dynamics.
Oh,
I had to look into it, and they were talking about the fact that like it was costing them more to run the studio than what they were earning. So them selling it for $300 million is them just cutting their losses.
That's bad. That's really bad.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Crystal Dynamics will continue to co-develop Perfect Dark.
Co-develop. Okay, awesome. I really like them as a developer, but they've been pretty damn quiet since the last one. Like, I don't know what their last game was outside of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And if that's the case, they've been carrying the studio for 5 years with no releases.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe there are no games. Maybe they simply got it so cheap because it's just the IPs. There's nothing in development.
Yep.
For any of them, any of those titles.
They did the Avengers, which didn't go well. But
Yeah,
there were
yep.
Tomb Raiders, Perfect
Mhm.
Dark.
It's a good
Yeah.
Oh, if
chance.
they did the Avengers, they would have done Guardians of the Galaxy as well. Then
I think it was a
don't
different one.
think
Guardians
they
was someone
did.
else.
Oh.
Guardians of the Galaxy was Eidos Montreal. So
Yes,
same
which is the
same
one that got
umbrella.
sold.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's been sold with it. So yeah, so this new company, this Embracer Group has bought them out. Will own the rights to Guardians of the Galaxy as well.
Yeah, right.
Which I thought was a really good game, but again, they said that was a failure too. So,
See, I enjoyed the Avengers game. I thought it was good fun, but a lot of people didn't like it.
I didn't get along.
I enjoyed playing a bit of it from time to time as well, but it's not
I didn't
like
jump on it till Game Pass, so that's pretty recent.
Embracer Group is part of Koch Media. Funny enough.
Oh, really? They're doing pretty good then. Like if they've landed these guys too.
Now, yeah.
Then I bought the Avengers game when it was on sale.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Nice Game Pass.
was talking with Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played it for a little bit, but it.
Like you were streaming it, and there was a sale on for it.
What's that?
So
was I streaming?
Avengers.
Oh yeah, I haven't played that in ages though.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't mind Avengers. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
It's fun when you got a few people together. It's pretty boring on your own though.
But what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, I really liked, because that was what I thought Avengers was going to be like. A single player adventure type thing, like with the team involved and stuff like that. But I don't think it necessarily was a bad game. It just didn't hold my attention. So just in saying that, obviously MJ was just saying that they were going to be doing the Tomb Raider Reloaded, but would anyone want to see them reboot Tomb Raider again?
No.
Reloaded's just an iOS and Android game, actually. It's just a mobile game.
Oh, really?
Reboot
I
or
wouldn't-
what?
I
Just
wouldn't touch
release
that.
another Tomb Raider game in general or something.
Yeah,
Give me
Yeah.
remaster.
I don't want them to remaster one we've already played. I'd like a new one, sure.
Yeah,
Would you like
something new from
would you like to
Tomb Raider
continue?
would be good.
Sorry?
Would you like to continue the three that have just come out, or would you?
I don't care as long as it's new. I don't care. Whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'd like another Uncharted game as well, but they're not.
Yep.
We're not
Like-
doing that either.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, like, as I really liked it, like the last three. And I didn't play any of the Tomb Raiders before that. Like I never grew up with a PlayStation, so like I never had that affinity for Tomb Raider. I never had that awakening that that everyone else had with some triangle titties. But like the newer ones were really good. Like they're just solid gameplay, and like I enjoyed it. And I kind of get that fix from Horizon Zero Dawn at the moment, anyway, and Horizon Forbidden West plays pretty similar. It's you got a bow. It's just you got robot dinosaurs to fight
They're
this time.
essentially the same game.
Yep, like similar concepts though.
Just on the Embracer acquisitions as well, they bought Gearbox Software last year for 1.3 bill, and they developed Half-Life, Borderlands, Duke Nukem, Aliens. It's insane.
Duke Nukem would be interesting.
I don't really understand it all, because like I thought 2K owned Gearbox.
Gearbox.
So
No,
it's all very confusing.
they lost it. I do remember they lost that a while ago.
Yeah, they got bought by Embracer last
Embracer.
year for 1.3 billion.
That's huge.
But yet they just released Tiny Tina 2K.
And I
just released.
think I heard rumors of another Tales from the Borderlands thing.
Oh yeah,
but not too sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know Tiny Tina's is in the same sort of universe, but is it actually still the same IP as Borderlands though?
Exactly the same, yeah. It's a Gearbox game, and it was came out by 2K this year.
Unless it's just it was existing properties, existing projects were being able to release as 2K.
It's all very confusing.
It just says despite Embracer Group's acquisition of Gearbox in 2020, the studio continued to partner with series publisher 2K Games. So they must have just stuck with it for the moment.
So they're probably just getting funded from Embracer, but then published by 2K.
Because they plan to release the spin-off since the early 2010, so it's been in the works for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess everyone gets like a cut at that stage, and then there's a little bit less risk. You know what I mean? But that's interesting. You mentioned before the podcast, MJ, that there was a Silent Hill reboot, remaster, or new IP
No,
type thing.
it's a reboot. I saw it on I didn't have a minute to look it up, but they're releasing a new Silent Hill game. Yeah.
Does it say who is tagged to do that or no?
Konami.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that would suck. I would have thought that. No, I would really hope that Kojima himself would get it. Because Kojima was one that made the PT track, like the PT demo. I would love to see him continue it, like his vision. If it's just Konami,
it is Konami. Yeah. Yeah, because the leak is apparently from Konami. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say that any other developer is not as good as each other, but Kojima has such a weird vision for these games. I think that would be perfect for him. I personally didn't like Death Stranding as much as what I don't think that game got super well received. Anyway, in the first place, I think it was reviewed well, but I don't necessarily think the reception was pretty flash hot for Death Stranding.
Well, Konami partnered with Bloober Games. Bloober Team. They did Layers of Fear. So Layers of Fear was freaky. So that might be good.
I still got hopes that it'll be good. I mean, I don't remember everything about the old Silent Hill games. I played them so damn long ago at a friend's house because I didn't have the PlayStation when I was growing up. So I played through them, but so long ago. So maybe a reboot would be pretty cool. So I was talking to Whippy about this before the podcast. Dead Space remake that's coming out as well. Pretty keen for that. But obviously you had your reservations.
Yeah.
What are you concerned about if they do a remake on it?
When I hear remakes, I want them to actually remake it so it looks like it's current gen, not just plaster some better graphics and puts a couple of shaders on and then say that's it. Everyone was so hyped up about a heap of these like remakes or remasters, whatever you want to call them, and you start playing them like this doesn't feel any different to how I was playing it before. Like the one noticeable one that we were talking about before the podcast was like Halo Master Chief Collection. We could actually switch between old gen and the current gen console graphics. And it was like, okay, that's they've actually done a really good job of this. It actually looks clean. Whereas like GTA San Andreas got done. Was it late last year or early this year?
Pretty sure it was early this year.
It was released last year. The trilogy.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was released last year.
And like you can see the graphics are being buffed up a little bit, but and like shaders and whatnot added, but it's just like it'd be cool if it was like GTA 5 graphics. Like just actually spend some time to make the game cool. Like it got absolutely plastered for that. Not having like current graphics.
I think the only remaster reboot that I've actually seen that was genuinely impressive that was the Demon Souls like remaster reboot, whatever they did, because that felt like they built an entire new game as opposed to just slapping some paint on it. So if they give that treatment to Dead Space and Silent Hill, I think it'd be pretty damn good.
Just
like
quietly.
If they do Dead Space properly and like actually do it properly, it's gonna he'll sell like it's brand new again because the Dead Space games are just amazing as they are. But like current gen console graphics would look amazing on it.
They didn't do too well on the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, in my opinion, because there's a lot of things that they missed that the original game had, and it's like, don't get me wrong, they've fixed stuff up for some of the stuff, but like it's like some of the stuff you have to do is like it's like and like to even get Arceus in them, you have to own another game and complete that whole game just to get that content.
With the new Pokemon games, like I don't play Pokemon. I'm not a fan of Pokemon in the slightest. The last one I ever played was literally just like an aerial view game. Like what are they doing graphically wise? Like is it 3D or something now, or is it still just looking down like aerial view?
It's become more 3D, but like since Arceus came out, they have been because of the success of Arceus. It's like they're like, ooh, we're gonna try and put that into because since they revealed that they got Scarlet and Violet in the works, they have like they haven't given out much, but they're thinking about putting a bit of the Arceus battle style into the next game to see how well it goes. Because like the battle system in old game prior to Arceus were like they were like, oh, you could see one side and there's a bit of area moving of the camera, but like with Arceus it's more interactive with the actual player because like you actually can move around and view different angles of the battle. Sorry, I ran on a giant.
No, you're right. I think the big difference between like the original Diamond, like because it was Diamond that they're redoing. Oh no, so it was Emerald
Diamond
and Ruby.
and Pearl.
It was Emerald and Ruby that's the recent one, isn't it?
Diamond and Pearl was a recent one. They've announced.
Diamond and Pearl's a recent one.
Yeah, they've
Scarlet
announced.
and Violet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the big thing that they did with changing that one was they changed like the original games were just 2D pixel art, and now they're 3D, but it's the same camera style.
And chibis.
So, yep. But yeah,
there's a lot of things on the chibis.
The Arceus game is like a full different style. You know, that'll be the new style that they're going to continue forward. The remake style was just a homage to the old styles.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen I'm just looking it up here. The Callisto Protocol.
Yes.
It was announced a couple years ago, which is and it's headed by Glenn Schofield, who made the original Dead Space, and it's supposed to be like a new horror game that, like, that's coming out in space and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see that come out at the same time as Dead Space, like see them go head to head and see which one's like the better of the two, but see what they learnt between the two. But the Callisto Protocol at the moment, I'm pretty sure has only got pre-rendered trailers or something like that. I just like the idea.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Glenn Schofield. I don't know if anyone wants to watch something that's like really interesting, like watch his documentary on how he made Dead Space 1. That dude, like, it's just a visionary. Like, he changed so much, and like, started bringing features for for that generation of console that developers weren't doing at the time. So like, a lot of people started like leeching off him a little bit. So like, his ideas are amazing. But yeah, I think it's on YouTube. I think it's free. Just Glenn Schofield. Amazing dude. I hope he puts a lot of love into the Callisto protocol. But yeah, that's been pretty dormant for a while. So everyone's pretty excited about Dead Space coming back. Obviously, holding your like reservations over remakes over brand new titles. So, anyone else got anything to add on to this, like Square Enix sales or anything like that before we move on, or?
Nope.
Always will. Pretty much the last thing I really want to wrap up with was just like, obviously it's been May the 4th. Like, there's been a ton of Star Wars stuff that's gone out there. Like, a lot of people reminiscing about all the old games. Breezy was saying he was playing Star Wars Force Unleashed and stuff like that. I think that keeps floating around, and honestly, it's not confirmed yet. Is like, they're talking about a Mandalorian MMO created by the same people that did the like Elder Scrolls Online. Do you think that could be a success? Because is the Old Republic still going? Has anyone played that, or is still playing it, or anything?
There is still a heap of people playing that. If they do a Mando game, I really hope they're not just going to try and milk Baby Yoda. I feel like that's going to be something they're just going to milk the absolute shit out of.
Wait,
They're doing it.
They are.
You say Bethesda are doing a
Star Wars Bethesda are tied to it. So Bethesda are creating one, and the rumor is that
Bethesda do one before, or a couple before, or was that a different company?
No.
That was LucasArts probably, but But yeah, like there's a notable person called Skull Z, like Skull ZI. He's been doing like the rumor mill for a long time, and he leaked a couple projects. I'm pretty sure he was one that leaked Fallout 76. So he's credited for what it's worth. And yeah, and he was saying that's the insider source that's rumoring this. I don't know whether it's going to be specifically Mandalorian, but perhaps it just means it's bounty hunter types. So the Old Republic is obviously tied to being a Jedi, and this MMO could be tied to just being everything else in the universe.
It's not anymore. They've Old Republic. You can do bounty hunters and everything now.
You can do that? Okay.
Yeah. You can do Jedi, Sith, everything. If they do it right, it'll be a good game. If they don't do it right, it's like in Star Wars in general. Like, Obi-Wan was meant to be a limited show. It's like one season, and they're already started talking about a second season. I'm like, no. Like, if you stuff this show up, you're going to get absolutely slaughtered. You need to make sure that this first season gets like flying reviews. Then you can start talking about a second season if you want to go down that path. Like, I'd love to see him drag it all the way out to like when Obi-Wan sort of first meets Luke, but see if because they got the room there to do that, but see if they actually do that.
Yeah, I just like that. Also bringing out an Ahsoka one. Apparently, there's an Ahsoka show which, like, radio. That's gonna be interesting.
How's going on over at MJ's joint?
It's just my house.
He's all walk in and out.
It's just my. He's just chilling.
I think the Mandalorian hype is here to stay. I think they'll milk that for a very long time. I just don't know whether it's going to be killing it by creating that. But does anyone ever remember the gameplay footage that came out for Star Wars 1313?
Yes.
Yeah, this is why I'm confused. Wasn't Ubisoft also announcing a Star Wars game?
Or there's quite
Titanfall guys doing another one as well. Like how many?
Ubisoft
Well,
was talking about doing a free world, like an open world one, but I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
who has the rights to the Star Wars?
no one, because
Anyone can
they
make a game.
Did EA lose them?
they
Clearly.
abolished Lucas Studios or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So basically, it just became
Disney
free reign
bought
at
them.
that stage.
Weird.
I'm pretty sure there's something that there would have to be some company that has a certain hold to certain IPs, like
Well,
what you were
yeah.
saying, Respawn, like that they're making a second one, but I'm pretty sure that would just be a follow-on from the Calrissian one, like the Fallen Order, like Star Wars Fallen Order.
Yeah.
So that series will probably be tied with that studio, so you can't do that. But Star Wars 1313 was announced way back in, I don't know, 2012 or something like that, and it was a bounty hunter game. You were a bounty hunter, and you were in this like giant colony, and like so you were tasked with going around, taking out notable figures and stuff like that. So, and it was a full-fledged gameplay trailer. Like you actually had people running around playing it. So it was pretty far in development from what they could say. And then for some reason it was just canned, and then nobody ever talked about it again. So
it might have been during the time. It might have been during when Disney was still getting the rights and all that. Maybe Disney canned it.
I think
Not
it was,
too
I
sure.
think it was pre all the Disney stuff. It was something to do with LucasArts not wanting to do it or something.
You know,
I reckon it looked pretty good. It honestly looked like how the Division 2 plays and stuff like that. From what I can remember, at least, I'd have to rewatch the trailer to be honest. But it's buried like because it never came out anyway. So
yeah.
If they do an MMO style game based on Mandalorian type stuff, I would want it to play like the Division 2, like something with updated graphics or like just nice character models and stuff like that. I know that Final Fantasy 14 and I know that Elder Scrolls Online has got a huge following, same as WoW, but I just the art style is just hard to get behind for me. You know what I mean? But I guess I played a lot of Destiny 2, so I'm used to having like a shooter type thing that looks like up to scratch with other shooters. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind customizations. I always enjoy those, and especially if you have to unlock or make it, because that's what I enjoy in video games. You have to earn your way to it.
Have you ever been gone down the MMO rabbit hole, MJ? What got you?
RuneScape back in the day.
Okay.
Then I went full-fledged, nearly got expelled from school for WoW. It honestly ruined my life. And then
Yeah.
most recent one was probably New World. New World really got me for a second there. I had to stop. So I'm trying to stay well away from MMOs because they're not good for me. As a person, they're not good for me. Yeah.
What about you, Whippy? Like, which MMOs caught you, dragged you down the hole?
When I was younger, obviously RuneScape. I used to play a fair bit of that, but I did play WoW for a while, and then when New World came out, I didn't buy it. I was like, no, I'm not going to buy this. I'm not going to get into it. It won't be my sort of game. And one of my friends gifted it to me, and I installed it, and then I just sat on it all night playing it. I was like, this is bad. Stop. But I don't know. When you look back at it now, like New World, they're very grindy games, but to a degree, they're fun. They're a fun grind. They're not just like a sit here for hours doing this sort of shit. But
yeah,
it's what each person's into game wise, I guess.
Would you prefer Mandalorian to just be a single player game? Do you think it would sell as well, or do you think that they're after just the constant cash flow?
Depends what they did with it.
Yeah, they can't seem to do them properly. I think that's the problem.
If they did a Mando thing, they'd need to do it actually properly in the Creed, and you can upgrade your armor, and there's an actual good story behind it. Whereas if it's just gonna be like an MMO, you can do it, but you need to have something linked up. I think the best best Star Wars game I played lately was The Fallen Order. Like it just felt like a good Star Wars game. It was like your Battlefront games and that, like they're just another team deathmatch or capture the
shooter.
flag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just another MMO if they do it. There's enough
Yep.
of
Just
them.
No, I
yeah.
feel like the MMO market is so hard to break into because you have so many established games already.
Mm.
Like people are already putting their time into so many other, like I feel like the MMO market's just it's not the
brutal.
same.
It's not the
Yeah,
greatest.
yeah, and it's not the same in terms of like playing a single player game. You got like a single run through. MMOs are grindy as
Yeah.
hell. People
Like,
don't want to play more than one at one time.
I guess their
Yeah.
target audience for an MMO have already got their poison of choice. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be good to have a single player do a Skyrim sort of thing,
Mhm.
and not do a whole online, and definitely don't have, because like one thing I especially don't enjoy of the Elder Scrolls Online is that you gotta pay big bucks to get the DLCs.
Yep. I'm honestly glad that WoW had that pay per month like model because that was what kept me from playing the game. So if that wasn't there, I probably would have fallen down the WoW rabbit hole as well, but I never got into it because of it.
I think if they do Star Wars games now, they just need to keep away from the characters everyone knows. I think that's why Fallen Order went so well because no one knew his backstory, no one knew what was going on, and there were Easter eggs in the game that like you could get the Yoda Easter egg, and like at the end of the game, obviously you see Darth Vader, but there was no like you weren't playing around with Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker or something like that. And that's if they're going to do a Mandalorian game, they need to make it that you're not Mando, you're not Boba Fett or anything like that. You're just some random
You're just in the Creed.
Mando. Yeah,
You're just a Mandalorian that's trying to make his own way.
Because if they use the Mando from the shop, they're just going to milk the hell out of the child, like Baby Yoda, and no one's like, yes, everyone will be into it for a couple of minutes. It's like Boba Fett show. They had so many episodes of like Boba Fett, and then I don't know if the viewings or ratings or whatever were going down because then they just brought Baby Yoda and Luke back into it. I'm like, stop making this about Luke and Baby Yoda. It's got nothing to do, and brought Mando into it. I think there was like 2 full episodes of just Mando. I was like, okay, stop.
I was actually in Zing today. Just looking around at the different merchandise that they got, and there's so much Baby Yoda stuff in there. And I was like, do you remember a couple of years ago, like when everyone lost their minds over porgs? Like I think it was Star Wars Episode 8 or something like that. And they were just getting super angry about that. They're like, why we got this little tiny cute thing? They're just using it to push merchandise. And then, a couple of years later, everyone's like, hey, look, Baby Yoda stuff. Let's get that. I was just like,
well, probably because it's based off of it's the same species as a major character.
Yeah, I get it. Like it's more of a fleshed out and like more important thing, but it's kind of like it's still the same thing. It's a marketing thing that they've chucked in there so they can sell a lot of merchandise. That was my view on the Ewoks as well. Like the Ewoks, for me, they're just like a merchandise opportunity to sell teddy bears. Star Wars themed.
They even made their own show spin-offs for the Ewoks, but like you don't hear. But like if you look at these days, you don't hear much about them. It's like if you're gonna do something that's gonna be memorable for years and years and decades, not something that's gonna go a decade later, couple years later, that they brought something new and they're gone. Oh, what was the thing that we were hyping over years ago? Baby Yoda? Yeah.
At least with the Ewoks, like they've incorporated in other stuff. Like, does anyone remember that Ewoks mode in Star Wars Battlefront 2 or something like that? That was terrifying. Like when you going through the dark.
I still play Battlefront 2 sometimes, and I love the Ewok mode. It's so fun.
That was awesome. Like that's putting some value into their merchandise at that stage. That was a really cool mode. I was playing that at my brother-in-law's place, and I'm surprised how like smooth and good the game looks because I know it had a terrible launch, but I should probably download it. It's on Game Pass.
EA at it again.
Just can't escape EA. Well, FIFA did. That's a topic we'll have to talk about another time because it's probably like gone like reached our mark for this podcast anyway. But anyone got any final thoughts on like Star Wars May the 4th or any other Star Wars game memory you want to bring up before we end the podcast?
They actually sneakily re-released the game that was like Nintendo 64 era. They released the Pod Racer Episode 1 game, which was pretty much a Star Wars racing game.
And you know why they did that?
Because they needed a bit of
Star Wars Lego. It is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I really like that the pod racing game.
That is really.
Did it have the pod racing scene in the new Lego one?
You can do pod racing in the new Lego game.
Oh, the new the pod racing in the Lego game is
so
awesome.
Good. I just went and jumped and played that.
Mm.
I think any Lego game's like really good. Like
this last one's been unreal though. Like they've gone above and beyond for Lego, like Star Wars.
Like they even add interactions. So I do enjoy the old ones, especially the ones where I've even rebought all of the Lego Batman series, and like I've gone back to like the original Lego Batman game, and it's like hard to believe that they didn't talk and they just went and all that. It's like look at how far they've come.
Talking about Lego though, before we wrap it, did you see Lego Brawls? I think it's called. I posted about it this week. Brawls, Lego Brawls.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it though. Is it supposed to be like a Smash Bros.
Like
ripoff or something?
In the Lego universe.
Yeah, that'll fail.
That'd be pretty cool. No, I think that'll be fun.
How would that fail?
How would that fail?
What the fuck?
No way it'll fail.
You can't replace Smash. Like these every Smash like clone that comes out is super hype for a week.
Bros. Super Smash Bros is locked into Nintendo. So you got like Mario, Luigi, like Lego's not locked into anything. You could have Gandalf fighting Darth Vader. Like it'd be sick.
That would be cool.
Different
Legos. Hopefully they don't do Lego's Dimension style where you have to buy the. Though that sort of thing has gone down. Even I don't even hear much about amiibos. That was like the last thing that of the toy to play with games sort of thing.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of past that, like Spyro Skyline.
Yeah,
was it Spyro?
Skylanders or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Stuff was
shit. Dumb.
I mean, I'm not gonna say. I'm not saying I won't play it. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's gonna have a long life. But
I reckon it's
Brawlhalla. That's another one. That's
Brawlhalla.
As long as it's got good gameplay, and it's not just a gimmick.
Multiverses.
I enjoy a good story,
which is in the Warner Brothers universe.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they put Mortal Kombat characters in,
I actually just got an email today, like about that.
Join it. Everyone get in on it. Multiverse.
What is it?
Yeah, multiverse. I got invited to the closed alpha.
It's Warner Brothers' version of Smash Bros.
So
all their universe.
I thought you were talking about the metaverse. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Oh, so you could do like Harry Potter verse someone.
No, thanks.
No, all the
turn another thing like
and IPs into a Smash Bros sort of game.
Nickelodeon tried
Harry
it.
Potter's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that Harry Potter versus Scooby Doo or Dobby versus Scooby Doo.
Harry Potter versus Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero get his ass cooked.
Yeah, Sub-Zero get cooked by everyone.
Snap his arm off.
I think everyone's missing the point that Shaggy, like, you know, if I don't know if anyone remember all those memes from a couple of years ago, he'll come out.
If he's not the most strong character in the game.
Yeah, it's gonna fail. So he's like the One Punch Man of the Warner Brothers universe. So Shaggy all the way.
I will punch these lights out.
Let's wrap this up.
That's awesome.
Before Breezy keeps talking.
All right, well, I think that's about run its course. All right, thank you everyone for tuning into Season 4, Episode 4 of the MKAU show. You can find us on social medias. Everyone in the chat will have all their socials put down below by the big man Stubby right now.
I keep forgetting. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Useless.
All right. Well, hope everyone has a good day.
Mhm.
And we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
See yous.